Welcome to the 7th episode of our leadership and people management series. We have been discussing how you can, as an entrepreneur, as a manager, as an HR professional, as a team leader in your organization, how you can manage, the people in your organization or the people over whom you have influence. This is the 7th video, so if you are watching this video, there are 6 other videos that we have done on this subject before now. I will encourage you to go watch them. In this 7th episode, we want to discuss conflict management in the workplace. Now, conflict management in the workplace is not a bad sign. It's not a sign that the organization is not okay. It's not a sign that the people in the organization are not okay. Conflict is normal. Is anywhere you have 2-3 people, there will always be conflict, right? Which is why we are talking about managing it. We're not talking about eliminating it, because again, it will not be possible to eliminate conflict. Why? A conflict arises from disagreement over ideas, responsibilities, resource allocation, and expected or targeted goals. There will always be difference in ideas. People always think what they are doing is not the right fit for them. That is something that should be allowed. Disagreement in ideas, disagreements in resource allocation is something that should be allowed, and you should create a workspace where people are free to air their objection, where people are not afraid to disagree with the system, or to disagree with the manager, or to disagree with their team leader, or with their co-workers. That disagreement is important because it is what will force the system to ensure that it is doing the right thing, to give a second, a third, a fourth, and even a fifth look at what they are doing again. If you are in an organization where the manager says, we are doing A, and everybody says, yes, sir, we are doing B, and everybody says, yes, sir, nobody questions it, then you are in a very, very dangerous environment. So conflict is not something that should be avoided. Conflict is something that should be accommodated and managed. The question now is, how do you manage conflict in a workplace? You cannot talk of managing conflict without the root cause of conflict. Every conflict is unique in its way. It is unique because the root causes are not the same. For example, there are conflicts that will arise from poor communication. When the communication is poor, when the expectation is not clear, when the goals are not clear, there is bound to be a conflict. Then, when there is competition for resources, there is also bound to be a conflict. Then personality differences. There are conflict that arises from personality differences. Then there are conflict also that arises from poor leadership capacity of those managing the team. Then there are conflicts that arises from misunderstanding. So you see that every conflict is unique. To be able to solve a particular conflict, therefore, the first thing you must do is to identify the root cause of the conflict. A conflict that arises from misunderstanding is simple, straightforward. A conflict that arises from competition for resources is also simple if you understand that it is about resources. But if you do not understand the root cause, and if you do not identify the root cause, managing it becomes extremely difficult. Now, if you understand the conflicts, then you need to be able to categorize the conflicts. In the workplace, you have 3 categories of conflict. You need to be able to categorize your conflict properly so you are able to apply the necessary measures and take the necessary step towards managing it or towards resolving it, right? And the first type of conflict you can find in the workplace is what we call the task conflict. This is a conflict that is purely about work, right? Second is relationship conflict. Relationship conflict is conflict that arises from personal disagreements between employees. Then lastly is process conflict. Process conflict is a disagreement about how work should be done. So what are the steps to resolving and managing conflict? Number one is objective listening. You need to listen to both sides of the divide and make sure you listen objectively without any form of favoritism or bias. Number two is identifying the root cause, which is what I've mentioned before. You identify the root cause. Then number three is categorizing the conflict. Is the conflict about process? Is it about tax? Or is it about personal relationships? The fourth step you should take towards resolving conflict or managing conflict is focusing on solution. If you have categorized your conflict, you know the category in which it falls, you then have to explore the possible solution, then agree on an action plan. Depending on the types on the category it falls, if it is personal disagreement between employees, you need to sit down with them and agree on the way forward. If it's about resource allocation, then you need to take the next step about what you should do to provide enough resources so there won't be competition and disagreement over resources. Then the last thing you need to do is to follow up to make sure that the action plans are being implemented. Following up is so many things in the workplace. Without follow-ups, without monitoring, without evaluation, so many things are going to go south. Why you are doing this, here are a few things you need to make sure you avoid. And I want to highlight them here so that you take note of them. Number one is taking sides too quickly. As the manager, as a team leader, it is important that you maintain a visible level of neutrality. Your neutrality should be visible and should be palpable, should be something that should be felt. Next is ignoring conflict. Don't ignore conflict. The little conflict you ignore will accumulate and become a big problem that you will struggle to resolve at a later time. Also avoid public confrontation. Irrespective of the category of the conflict, by all means avoid public confrontation. Because sometimes when you confront people publicly, you aggravate the emotional investment in the conflict. And the last thing you want to do when you want to manage conflict is to aggravate the emotional investment in that particular conflict. Then lastly, avoid emotional reactions by all means. Of course, when there is conflict, there will be emotions involved. Like we have said, you don't want to aggravate that emotion. But again, you need to double down on reducing emotional reactions and emotional involvement and emotional considerations as much as possible. Lastly, don't forget, conflict isn't the enemy. Poor management of conflict is the real enemy. Thank you very much for watching this video. Drop your thoughts in the comment section and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.